Hey, I'm here at Zenkaikon 2021, unfortunately digital this year again, and I'm going to give a hour-long presentation on some easy Japanese cooking. I have been a weeb for maybe 30 years of my 30-year life, and I have found cooking to be my greatest passion for around 15 of them. Throughout this time, I've taught myself through various videos and books on how to do some Japanese cooking, and I'm going to show you a few easy dishes to do at home. But anytime you cook, you have to make sure you're doing things cleanly, especially nowadays with a global pandemic. So make sure you have gloves, and if you're cooking for a group of people that you don't currently live with, maybe wear a mask and wash your hands just a little bit more often to make them all feel safe. The first dish we're going to be going over is a rice ball. Now, we've all seen these in hundreds of anime, and no, I'm not going to be making a jelly donut. I have some rice that I made earlier and cooled, and I have 2 of these pre-made rice ball formers. You can do these by hand, but no, that is a lot of time and a lot of effort that we're going to skip over. One thing you want to make sure while doing rice balls is to have a cup of salt water. Rice will stick to just about everything but salt water and cellophane wrap, also seaweed. But that's very optional. You do not have to wrap your rice balls. So we want to make sure these stay submerged in here so that it doesn't stick them as well. Get a little bit of rice, and you want to fill it just about halfway, making a divot in the center for any fillings. I have a filling here that I've previously made for some, what are they called?
Crab ragoons.
Crab ragoons. It is a very easy filling to make as well. I did it in a food processor. It is 1 package of imitation crab meat, 1 package of cream cheese. You want to let it sit to room temperature, so maybe take it out an hour or 2 beforehand. A little bit of black pepper and a little bit of salt and some Worcestershire sauce. Then you just want to get a small dollop. You don't want to put too much in your rice ball or it will squirt out the sides and it will not look pretty anymore. Get a little bit more rice on top here. Get some on the counter because you're a little bit messy. And don't worry, I washed everything before I started this. Get the lid and press. Now that is just your basic filled rice ball. I always go over with my hands the way that you would normally do. You want to put it in the center of your palm with your fingers and the base of your palm here and form it with the flats of your palm. If you were to do it fully by hand, this was how you would do it and how you would rotate it. Now, this is good on its own. I personally like to season my rice and put a outer crust on top of it. Traditionally, rice balls have no seasoning other than the salt water. That's fine, but it's not how I do it. I season my rice with some rice vinegar because I adore vinegar and I think it makes most meals better, but definitely not chocolate. So we're gonna make 1 more with some of that mixed into the rice. You wanna make sure to incorporate that a little bit. You don't wanna overdo it with this because it'll make the rice too moist and it'll become sort of it doesn't bind as well. It becomes more sticky and not the good kind of sticky you want for a rice ball. You're gonna fill it the same way, give it a divot. Get a little bit more of our crab ragoon filling, which is something I would love to show you all how to make. It is just about the easiest thing in the world, and I'm pretty sure everyone loves them if you're not lactose intolerant, which I am, but that's other people's problem and not me because it gives me gas. And the goblin you hear chuckling is my girlfriend and lovely camera assistant today. that one out. Give it a little bit of forming. And this is a slightly better tasting rice ball. I'm going to put this over here with the rest. Remove these gloves and clean this area up a little bit, and I'm going to show you the kind of seasoning I do on the outside of the rice. Pop that over there. Let's get this rice off my cutting board, since no one's going to eat those little bits. Now, I always start with some pre-made furikake. This is kimchi flavored. Furikake, it is a rice seasoning blend that you'll see in a lot of Asian grocery stores and some more traditional ones. I know we get ours at Giant, which is a basic furikake, or else I ordered these ones off Amazon. I say get the basic, kimchi, wasabi, and I also have one over here that is shiso fumi. It tastes like a plum tea. This is good, but not with our filling and not with the rice vinegar. If you want to use some shiso fumi, you want to season your rice with a little bit of salt, a pinch of sugar, a little bit of sugar, and a pinch of salt. I got that one a little bit backwards, and it tastes absolutely beautiful. But we're going to focus on making our own using this as the base. Get this down in here. I don't have much left because I like to mix this into a lot of my deep frying dredge for katsudon. Then I add just a wee bit of chili powder, give it a little bit more of a kick. Black and white sesame seeds to give it a little bit of a nutty flavor and some nice texture on the outside. A little bit of fresh salt and pepper. I always use pink Himalayan salt. That's just a preference of mine. Use what you enjoy best. A little bit of parsley. And something that I found goes really good in them, especially with what we have, a little bit of black garlic. Or you can use garlic powder. Mix that in. And to really give it a good taste, I add some panko into it. Now I'm going to grab another set of gloves, give this a good mix, and I'm going to make another rice ball and then coat these. Honestly, I think this is the quietest my house has been for as long as it's been. I always go for a slightly spicy outside on my rice balls and a more creamy inside. Some of the common fillings I do is some roasted garlic and cream cheese, tuna and mayo, which is one of the more traditional ones. I love the crab ragoon fillings. You can also use some pickled plums. I'm going to be using our smaller rice ball. Or if you want to go with a pickled plum, I would probably not do the rice vinegar because it gives it a very different mouthfeel. Being pickled and sweet, and then you get the all that pickly flavor. Again, cooking is something that you want to experiment around with and find your own ways. This is just simply my way. So this in here, a little bit to top it. I purchased this rice ball set off of Amazon. It came with 2 small, 2 large, and a few other shaped rice ball molds. Now the other shapes are cute and nice, but wholly unnecessary, and let's be honest, everybody wants the triangles. And then I just roll this around in here, get it coated on all sides. And for these, you can put them in the fridge. I would wrap them in some plastic wrap, but these ones you want to eat pretty much that day. If you put them in the fridge, the rice will actually make the panko and the seasonings get a bit soft and you'll lose your texture, but all the flavors is going to be there and it'll still be pretty damn delicious. Let's put this over here. And that is all 3 of our rice balls. A plain traditional rice ball with a crab ragoon filling, a seasoned rice ball, and then one with my personal outside coating. I'm gonna put this off camera. Now, aside from rice balls, one of the more popular dishes that you see in a lot of anime is katsu. More specifically, katsudon. That is a deep-fried pork loin, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to make that. It is one of my favorite things to make. I have been making it for 8, maybe 10 years now, on and off, and everyone I've made it for has fallen in love with this. I already got a bunch of pork chops. Earlier, I pre-cut them. You want to score them a little bit so that if you do katsudon with it, they're easier to cut. You can also get all of the coating deep inside those crevices. This off here, I have some flour. It's going to be the normal flour egg panko, but in my flour, I've mixed in some cornstarch. This will give it a drier, bit cracklier texture, which you obviously want from something deep fried. Then we have our egg and our panko. I have my oil prepped in the other room. I'm going to set all this up on a second plate. I knew I had one somewhere. And then I'm going to go drop these in the fryer as we continue with another dish. If I can get these plates apart. Yeah, there. So an easy thing you want to do, first remove your forks that you use to mix everything, is you want to do a wet hand, dry hand system for doing any type of deep frying. Especially because if you mess this up, your hand's going to be covered in breading to the point where you need to scrape them off, or you can just deep fry them and have some tasty fingers. And like I said, you want to get all of those little ridges in there in everything. Now this is going to remain my dry hand. This is going to be the one for the egg that gets all kinds of wet. And you want to make sure to get it all over so that we coat all of it. And this is just some basic panko. I didn't buy seasoned. I didn't get any extra things in it. Mostly because I didn't feel like it, and it really doesn't need it, especially if you're going to be making katsu the first time. You want to really taste that good deep-fried pork. And if you turn this into katsudon, you do lose some of those seasonings in all the rice and toppings and sauce. But if you plan it right, it can actually turn out utterly delicious. I like to put furikake in mine. That's why almost all of it's gone. Sure, that's a little bit more well-coated. And that's how you want it to look when you're done. I'm going to do the rest of these right now. I actually started making katsudon after I saw a YouTube video. I was still in college back then, by just one cookbook showing how to make this, and I thought it looked absolutely beautiful. I made it a couple times, and then like 4 years, the anime Yuri on Ice came out, and I thought, wow, they make it better than me, but they put frozen peas on it. Now, I really don't have much of a problem with peas, but my roommate pointed something out to me that no one actually likes peas. You've never gone to a restaurant, saw the side dishes, and looked, ooh, their mixed vegetables have peas in them. No human has ever said that in the history of the earth. So if you're gonna make some katsudon, especially the Yuri on Ice ones, maybe hold on to peas. A little bit of corn, it's not bad, but I personally like it more traditionally. Also, in a lot of the recipes, specifically from Yuri on Ice, you'll see them add onion. Onion isn't traditionally in Katsudon, it's more of a Gyodon thing, which is something I'm going to be showing off a little later, if time persists. And well, with how quickly I've been going through things, time's totally gonna persist. This panel is pre-recorded, and while it's going on, I'm going to be sitting in the chat if you have any questions to ask me directly. Ooh, I might run a little low on Ponko in here. If you have enough Ponko in time, it is a wonderful idea to double coat your... No, we have enough in here. It's just getting a little low. Thankfully, there's only one. If you double coat your katsu in breading, it gives it a thick, thick shell that... What did we put it on that I double breaded it? Was that when we did it with mac and cheese?
Yes.
Oh, I never would have thought katsu on top of good mac and cheese or homemade mac and cheese would be as good as it turned out, but oh, it is something that you definitely have to try if you have a mac and cheese recipe at home, or even just some good Velveeta. Make some either chicken or pork katsu. I always prefer pork. It's got a much denser white meat and just takes to the panko a little bit better. But make some mac and cheese and throw this on top, and oh, it's filling though. You're gonna be sleeping after that. Okay, I'm going to pass these to my assistant. She's going to put them in the fryer while I go clean this area up and grab some onion for the gyodon. Both gyodon and katsudon are danburi dishes. Danburi is a Japanese style of food that you'd normally get at like a pub or an izakaya that is a third of a bowl of rice and toppings. Katsudon is obviously pork katsu, a sweet soy sauce, and an egg beaten, poured on top of it and steamed into it. Gyodon is thinly sliced steak and onions on top of rice. You'll see gyodon a lot in like the Persona series, the Mega Beef Bowl. Sometimes they put extra vegetables in it. So not always necessary, but some good pickled daikon in it. It's very nice. Yes?
You turned it down.
I turned it down, just bump it up a little bit to about right below medium.
Okay.
And we have the thermometer there for it. Also, make sure if you're cooking meat, you always cook to 165 degrees, and it has to hold at that temperature for no more than 1 second. I actually work in a kitchen. I am Safe Serve certified. So I really do know what I'm saying with all this, and if you want to make this at home, I want to make sure you're getting the most precise, safe directions so that you don't accidentally give someone salmonella. No one's going to like that. I'm going to put this in the kitchen, and I'll be back in just 1 moment. Almost on back. And she found the electric thermometer. That is there. I'm going to remove the eggs. Oh, oil. I am very sorry about that. I had to help her with the thermometer. I did not set it up earlier. Just swap out my cutting boards. When you're cooking at home, it's always a good idea to have multiple clean cutting boards for, well, what you obviously just saw. Get some more gloves. the rate that we're flying through this, I am probably going to be doing some tempura at the end of this, and maybe a Japanese rolled omelet. But the gyodon, since I'm making it, all of it, actually might do some katsudon as well for you all. For gyodon, you want a big onion. Also, always be careful when using a chef's knife. These are incredibly sharp. You can and will cut yourself. I would know, I cut myself. Not all the time, but more than someone who uses these should. Mind you, that's usually at work when I'm running about 100 miles a minute. I burn myself more often at work than anything. That's just because I don't care when I shove my hand in a turbo oven or a conveyor oven to grab stuff. The two onions you want to be getting for gyodon are either large white onions or yellow Spanish onions like this. Probably want to avoid those red onions, although they are good raw or in salads or on subs. They don't really cook so good. Get this. You can go grab me a wok, please.
Big one's on. Big one's on.
Oh, the big one. Now there are tons of ways to cut an onion, but for gyodon you want to be cutting it in a fan pattern. Now I'm just going to throw these onto the wok and the induction burner I have over there. Don't worry, it's not on quite yet. If you have trouble cutting an onion with any type of knife, always make sure you have the sharpest knife possible. And I have noticed that I don't cut with my wrist, I cut with my shoulder. Get that off. I push forward and pull back. It's like a choo-choo train, the motion of your arm. Don't laugh. I literally explain this to people at work all the time. And Melissa, it is the easiest way for me to. And that is the oil hitting temperature. Also, if you haven't noticed, this black knife is way sharper than my prettier knife over there. Throw these.
Can I put one at a time?
Yes. You don't want to put any more than 2. If you overcrowd that oil, you will bring the temperature down and make it cook slower.
Okay.
You want to pull them out right before they look like they're going to be golden brown because it will have carryover cooking.
Do you want to put the lid on?
Yes, please. You want to be careful with the oil splashes. Let's breaking that up. Oof, those onions. If I cry, it's not because I'm an emotional wreck, it's because of the onions. Don't laugh at me. It is because of the onions. She's laughing at me. These over. I'm sorry if any of these side stuff gets in the shot. Plug in my burner. Ooh. That sparked. That's not good. And because I touched non-food stuff, gotta swap the gloves. It's important that you swap your gloves in between any dish you do or anytime you touch anything non-food or non-food related. The handles of knives is fine, but if you're going to plug something in or have to check your phone because someone texts you in the middle of cooking, you're gonna have to throw in a new pair of gloves. I go through so many of these. Probably about half a box of 100 gloves a day. All right, we're gonna set this to medium high. For this, that is 375 degrees. And then I'm gonna have to get more gloves on. So I rotated this. You can tell I pre-planned this well, didn't you? Do you want to get me a little bit of oil in the kitchen just to lube this up? Thank you. It is always a good idea to buy one of these restaurant-style condiment holders and put some oil in it. This is way better than any spray you could use, and you have so much more control over it. I'm gonna go grab something to stir that with. I always prefer to use wooden as opposed to metal or plastic. Plastic, although it is heat treated, it can bend and warp at the end, and those pieces can come off and can come off on your food. Metal, on some things like this, will scratch the Teflon and take it off. Wood, on the other hand, doesn't and keeps forever. I believe I got most of these from my mother, who probably bought them secondhand herself in like the 70s. And I don't know if I might give these to my kids one day or not. Or I might just throw them at people that annoy me. Alright, I'll pop the heat up a little bit higher to make this go just a wee bit quicker as I empty our measuring cup and build the sauce for the gyodon and katsudon, because it's basically the same thing. All right. Still on frame.
Everything's in.
All right. For the sauce for the gyodon and the katsudon, it is a extraordinarily simple sauce. Basically, all these sauces are soy sauce and something sweet. Now, since I tend to make a lot of this, I am going to fill that up to the first cup. Is that half? That is half a cup. A full cup of soy sauce. This is low sodium. I don't prefer low sodium, but this is what Walmart had. Then it is some Japanese mirin, which is a sweet cooking wine. Don't bother trying to drink this. I mean, you potentially could get drunk off of this, but it's 8%, so that's like 16 proof. But it is not enjoyable. It's a cooking wine, much like a dry sherry. I am going to put in just a quarter cup of this. Then, honey. You can either use honey or brown sugar, or white sugar if you prefer. I prefer honey and brown sugar. Should have put this upside down earlier, because honey be thick. I tend to enjoy the thicker things in life. If you can hear her munching on those rice balls back there, they are a beautifully delicious snack. And while this is going on, I might have myself that coated one. Yep, she just heard the katsu in the fryer. Put that up a little bit more. Whip this up. Honestly, this might take the longest out of everything we're doing here today, is prepping the sauce. This chunk of onion just will not come apart. Oh. I never hit start on the induction burner. I'm a smart cookie. So this is going to start to go now. Normally on stuff like this, you want to cook it on medium to medium high, sometimes a little bit medium low. I'm going to do it on high because I've done gyodon. I don't want to say I've done it blackout drunk, but I've totally cooked gyodon and katsudon blackout drunk, which I will not recommend to anyone in here. If you're gonna make something deep fried, don't do it while drunk. You're gonna burn yourself. Now we can smell those onions. I was wondering why I couldn't earlier. You can tell I use this induction burner quite often. Actually, we do use it often. We have hot pot about once every week, once every 2 weeks. If I can get to do another one of these panels, I would love to do one on hot pot. It has become one of my favorite things to do. It is incredibly healthy, it is incredibly easy, and it is a great thing to have with friends. Usually when we have hot pot, it's some thinly sliced steak like we're doing with the gyodon, shiitake mushrooms, and a bunch of vegetables. And let's just be honest, if you're gonna cook good food, have good company with you. Ooh, that is growing, and I lost an onion. Fortunately, I don't have an animal to eat that, so I gotta clean it up. I don't know, the goblins count now? She's not gonna eat it. Now, you don't actually want to toast or cook your onions all the way through. You just want to get them a little soft and translucent. There's 2 ways to do onions for gyodon. Either you cook them fully in the sauce, or you cook them beforehand like I do. When you cook them beforehand, they retain a lot more of their tautness and more of the onion flavor, which I personally love. Keep that mixed up. Pour the sauce right in here. Ooh, get all that honey out of the bottom of this. Because gyodon is supposed to be a little bit sweet, but not honey sweet. That's why you have a lot of the soy sauce and the mirin, which is kind of a sweet cooking wine, to balance it out. You want that good line of and not sweet or salty umami flavor. You can also, and this is very optional, take a anchovy and mince it up into this. I didn't think anyone wanted to see that because most people don't like the idea of anchovies to begin with, but anchovies are incredibly good, they are incredibly salty, and if you like Worcestershire sauce, we already like anchovies. They're basically in that. Heck, they're inside soy sauce as well. It's one of the main ingredients. So give it salty little fish a try. Not on pizza. Not everyone's cool for that. I like pizza with anchovies and mushrooms on it. If you're not a foodie or, a little experimental, it sounds absolutely revolting, but, well, most foods sound pretty disgusting if you think about it. I mean, most of us are from PA. Who here's had Scrapple? The name says it all. Alright, now this is starting to take on a lot of good color. If you can see it in there. Don't try to get on the goddamn table. I can go help her just momentarily. Longer. Is the beef that I had purchased the other. I stepped on that goddamn onion. And I don't have shoes on, but you didn't know that. Normally for gyodon, you get your beef, and it is extra thin. Getting that type of beef for gyodon or shabu shabu in this area is hard. So I tend to get super thin flank steaks and cut it even thinner myself. These will cook very quickly in the sauce we have. And I've got quite a bit of it. You want to make sure you spread them out, because if they're touching when they cook, they'll cook together. And you don't need to pre-season these or anything. The broth and the onions will do all of that for you. Do you want to tell me what our time is at?
I was just gonna.
Thank you.
17 minutes.
17 minutes? Left. Oh, thank God. Oh, I thought I blitzed through all this in 17 minutes. Holy shit. I'm sorry about the language. I'm a terrible person. Alright, with 17 minutes, we'll be able to finish up and leave some time for questions. Obviously online, and I can show off the dishes how I personally like to plate them. If you take the art of cooking seriously, you do want to start to pay attention to how you plate your food, because food is just as beautiful as it is delicious. If you plate something poorly, one of the best dishes in the world might not be as appetizing. And let's be honest, this is art. Let's treat it like it. So if you can see in there, our beef is starting to cook up perfectly, but there's still a few little pink spots that we want to cook in. I am going to steal a spoon from the kitchen to taste our sauce to see if I need to add anything to it. And you remember, if you're cooking, this is something every professional chef I've seen says, everyone who works in the kitchen, basically everyone who cares about food, taste your food while you're cooking and before you serve it to anyone. If you do not know how it is seasoned and you do not know how it is tasted, you cannot guarantee the people that you're cooking for are getting the best version of that dish. And if you're cooking for a loved one or your nice roommates, you want to make sure you give them some good stuff. Oh, she got me a spoon. Also, don't do this. You will burn your mouth. I'm gonna burn my mouth. There is more soy sauce in that than anything. So I am going to mirin. You would bring me the thing of brown sugar, please? I'm gonna add some extra brown sugar to this to bring the flavor. If you didn't know, brown sugar is made with the same process as white sugar, but they take out the molasses. Dark brown sugar has way more molasses and is way sweeter, but don't use that unless the recipe specifically asks for it, because you can and will make things too sweet. This is just about 2 tablespoons I'm putting in. If you're keeping up with all those measurements, probably a little bit better than I, and I full-on eyeballed that meal. So I'm going to put in 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. Mix this in. I'm going to turn down this heat so that I don't overcook my beef. But it's gyodon, it's thinly cooked. You're not going to get a perfectly cooked steak in here. And those onions are starting to take on that brown color that we absolutely want to be seeing in here. Where did I leave my spoon? Wipe this off before I put my mouth on it. Especially that I'm showing you how to cook, you don't want to put your mouth on a spoon and put it back in a dish. In a professional kitchen or even a gas station Turkey Hill like I do, admittedly, we're not tasting our food. Everything's pre-measured. You never want to do that to someone. Ooh, that is what is needed. You can always experiment around, add in some garlic, some cayenne, maybe toss that furikake in here. Food is an expression of who you are. I tend to go loud, rich, explosive flavors. You, when making this, might be a little bit more subtle. It might lean a little bit more salty. Make it the way I say once, and then tune it to you and your loved one's palates. Alright, that is done. Tell me if this is in frame. I want to make sure they can all see how this turned out. This is absolutely beautiful.
Turn it a little bit.
There it is. Alright. Now, like I said, donburi dishes are a third a bowl of rice. I'm not going to use the rice for the rice bowls. That's cold by now. I have warm rice in my rice cooker. I'm going to go grab a bowl and I'm going to plate it up for you all. Where do you want to grab that bowl? Do you want to get me the bowl with a third of rice in it and I'll take care of it? Alright, push this all out in the way. Dirty gloves. I wish I knew how to edit. The video would be about 1,000 times better. God, there's like freaking 6 pairs of dirty gloves over here. But I'd rather make 100 pairs of dirty gloves than get my fingers in someone's food. Thank you. Now we have our rice. Normally, I always season my rice before it's served. Again, with rice vinegar. I like to go heavy on the vinegar, but that's just me. Give it a little toss. And normally I would put, where's the empty one? That's not the right one. You don't want to put plum in this. I put a little bit of this in, but well, we used it all. I, on the other hand, am going to use a little bit of our rice ball seasoning. On top of this, all right, about 10 minutes left. The katsu is almost done. We might not be able to see that put together, but you know what a deep fried thing looks like.
We can show the two we have done.
You have two done?
Yeah.
Do you want to bring that out on the plate for me and I will cut it?
You want rice?
Yes, please. Put it in get a bowl of rice and the katsu on a plate. And that.
Is this okay?
That is one of my favorite bowls. That is a bowl of gyodon. If you're a fan of Persona 4, if there's a rainy day, eat it up. Maybe increase all your stats. If not, eat it up anyway. It is utterly delicious. I tend to cook more of the izakaya style Japanese food. There is dozens of other things. I also love to make Japanese styled curry. It is, I don't know if it's my favorite food or one of my favorite foods, but it's definitely up there. Let me get on some gloves and I'll handle this nice katsu. Now, we're not going to be doing a katsudon because we're actually running a little bit low on time. And all my veggies over there that I had with some tempura, well, they're going to get eaten up anyway. I want to give you 8. That glove betrayed me. Also, I have these freaking ogre hands here. And these are one-size-fits-all gloves. Nice whole section of this katsu. See, you want it to come out perfectly golden brown like this. This is the kind of katsu you would see at a Japanese-style diner. Normally, if you would just order katsu, it would be a massive pork chop. I tend to make smaller ones for doing katsudon or just little rice balls. Another great thing to do with this is make a onigazu. It is a Japanese rice ball sandwich. I need to be making them a lot more often to keep up on them, but you would buy one about this size or half of it and do it the same way, or cut it in half. I'll do that another time. It's utterly delicious. Let's cut this and see how it cooked. That is just perfect. Now for our purposes, we're going to cut this into long bite-sized pieces and put it over rice, like so. We didn't do the full katsudon. We didn't take the remainder of our egg dredge and pour this over it while cooking it in a skillet with that same sauce, but we can still douse this over with the sauce. Of course, with a spoon and not a wooden spoon, because they don't really retain much anything. They're just for stirring.
They couldn't see that anyway.
Yeah. So, she's yelling at me because I'm doing stuff that you can't see, which is honestly a fair critique. So with this, you can always put some onions on it. I'm not the biggest fan of onions in it when you're making it as a katsudon, but you can just make it a general donburi dish with some pork and some onions, and it'll taste delicious. I think the onions take away from it. When you have the egg in it, there's just way too much going on in there. That's not where you put that. All right. And that is some katsu rice. Now I'm going to leave these last few minutes and just make some more rice balls. And I'm going to stay in the chat. If you want to ask any questions, I would love to answer them. So where are my... They're in the sink, aren't they? Well, we're going to freehand these. For freehanding rice balls, you want to pat it flat into a patty. Like so. You want to go the whole length of your hand up to just about your fingertips. Get a ball of your filling in here. And again, please try the roasted garlic and cream cheese. Get a full head of garlic, put some olive oil on it, wrap it in tin foil, pop it in the oven, 400 for, I think it's about 8 to 10 minutes. Take it out, open it, squeeze all that garlic out of there and some cream cheese and mix it all up. It is so good. Add a little bit of sriracha to that bad boy. And now you get to see me. I'll probably make a little bit of a lopsided rice ball. I don't do these very often. Could have been worse, honestly. Can't remember last time I freehanded one of these. Actually, I have another rice ball mold that I completely forgot about getting. What happened?
It fell. It's okay.
Okay. Something fell in the kitchen and there's oil, so I was worried, but no one screamed. As I was saying, there was a coworker of mine who used to hang out with me a lot, and I used to cook for him because...
I don't think I can read it.
I know where it is. Just hold 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
That's fine. This coworker of mine was obviously a weeb, like most of my friends. His favorite thing in the world was Pikachu. So, it was a couple months ago, he had asked me to make him some rice balls, since he had someone when we were hanging out at my house once. So I had ordered him a Pikachu mold. This is normally for molding rice, like to make the Pikachu and Eevee rice from Pokemon Sword and Shield. That is why I had this on my Amazon wish list. But knowing how much he loved Pikachu, I made a stuffed Pikachu rice ball for him. And let me tell you, this kid's eyes lit up like a 4-year-old on 1995 that just got a freaking N64. It was the most adorable thing this pudgy little boy had ever seen. And I can't even call him that pudgy. Look at the size of me. But... if you're going to be using weird rice ball molds like this, you want to make sure to fully fill them. And have an extra plate to empty them onto. You can see that subtle nudging, because they do not have any type of trigger release. This one actually came with some plastic to cut out his facial expressions, but just drop it somewhere. They don't really work. So when I had made it for him, I used Japanese mayonnaise and sriracha to draw on his face. Something I'm going to be doing again today here. Again, super subtle nudging. If only people could read my mind. Oh god, that would be terrible. Let's put that in here. Do we have any Japanese mayo in there? Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Got like 2 minutes.
I lost an ear.
Oh no.
Oh no, I lost both ears. This definitely isn't Charizard class Gigantamax curry. Which is really hard to make on your own, by the way. Get those ricey flakes off me. Get Sriracha open, give him his... What's the vaping over there? This skews the gambit of that's cutesy. Oh, that's a little weird and demonic. Cause I am not good at drawing faces, especially upside down. So let's see what kind of Pikachu we make. Okay, that's not the worst eyes I've done. Some black sesame seeds.
Make sure to tilt it up when you're done.
Huh?
Tilt it up
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're done.
Oh, God, the gloves make it hard to get the topper off. There we go. Get the finger in there. And... okay, it's less of a mouth and more of a... yeah, let's make an O face where they can't see my face. That was... let's see if I can give him some pupils. Okay, that worked. What are you laughing at? It's that time? Alright. Well, we didn't finish up the Pikachu, but that's Pikachu for you. And thank you for anyone that watched. I hope you try these on your own. Cooking is... oh God, you get to see my freaking face. Oh, I wanted to babish this whole thing. Thanks, girl. But again, I hope you try some of these recipes on your own. I hope you look up more Japanese recipes. Cook. Cooking to me is one of the most intimate things you can do for the people that you care about. And it's just my favorite art form. Thank you.